So how do we develop and then maintain our supplier relationship? Well, it's just like you would develop and maintain any other kind of relationship. So, but we have differing levels here. So we have to first define that relationship intensity. Is it a transactional relationship? For example, a transaction relationship could be as simple as you go to Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Burger King, whatever you go. You tell them what you want, you give them money, they give you change, they give you your food. End of transaction. There's nothing personal there. But then there's the strategic alliance, which is the complete other end of the spectrum here. So you might think of this as you're gone through and you're essentially married. This is long term. You're interdependent on each other. You do joint planning. You share resources. You share the risks and the rewards. So it's essentially like a marriage. Hopefully it doesn't end in divorce, but you can see how intertwined a strategic alliance can get. So let's look at how we can develop our supplier. So we need to secure our sources of supply because that's where we're getting our materials, right? So we need to increase our supply options. But we need to also build a stronger and more competitive supply base. So we need that. If we do that, that improves our process capability. Because if one supplier goes down for whatever reason, it could be a hurricane, it could be a power outage, it could be, any reason in the world why a supplier just can't meet our need anymore. We need other companies that we can go to. And that's part of our supplier base. We can reach out to another company. So we need to, and that will improve our process capability. But how far do we integrate our suppliers into our company? Well, at the low end, they can help us with our forecasting. They can help predict customer demand. We can see if we say this is the demand we're thinking of, they can say, yes, we can help you meet that demand in our manufacturing, or we can make sure you get the materials for that. So the next step up is vendor managed inventory. Sometimes you'll see this as VMI. So for example, Walmart. If you go to the soda aisle or pop aisle, depending on where you're from, Coke and Pepsi and most of the other sodas in that aisle are not actually stocked by Walmart. Coke, Pepsi, and the other ones put those drinks on the shelf. Same thing in the potato chip aisle. The Frito-Lay and all the other ones bring in the potato chips and they stock the shelves. And almost the same thing for bread. There's some breads that are not stocked by a vendor managed inventory. They're done by Walmart employees, but those are just 3 categories in a Walmart store where Walmart doesn't actually pay for those items until the customer pays for it at the register. Simple as that. But then we have insourced warehousing. So this is where we rely on the capabilities of other companies to do our distribution for us. So we're using our supplier perhaps, or our manufacturer to do our distribution so we don't have to. If you think of drop shipping, if you've ever heard of that, you're not actually holding the inventory that you're selling. It's another company is holding it. You can consider that insourced warehousing. And then you have early supplier involvement. So this is where you get them into the new product development, and they can help you develop it, that new product. And there might be some features or manufacturing methods that can be adjusted to make it better and cheaper. And then we have our supplier integrated manufacturing. That's where our suppliers set up their manufacturing process inside our facilities. Yeah, inside our facilities. That's pretty well integrated there. So I just kind of went over these already. But so we have collaborative forecasting. Work together with your supplier to develop a joint demand forecast. Vendor managed inventory. Let your supplier take care of your inventory levels for their products. And then the other ones I've gone over. But, these are different levels. And when you're with a company, you can determine how integrated do you want to be with your supplier. Because your company might also be integrated with your customer. How deep does your company want to get involved with your customer like that? It's up to your company. But if we get our early supplier involved in the new product development, they can definitely help us out. So they can provide feedback on our technical feasibility of our materials and our processes, and they can suggest alternatives. If we want to use metal, and they say, well, no, metal's not good, let's use plastic, a high-density plastic. Well, you can consider that. Or they can say, here's more accurate cost and lead time data. And that can help you define the doability, the feasibility of the product. They can even make the critical components and the prototype. Prototyping is essential. What is it actually going to look like? It's one thing to look at it on a computer screen. It's a completely another thing to hold it in your hand, because you get to see dimensions of the actual product. And they can actually offer suggestions, because it's more ideas, more eyes that improve the product or the process. And then because they've been helping you all along, they can provide the capacity to support a successful launch. Because they've been involved, they know exactly what kind of demand it is going to be on their manufacturing process or on their processes to provide the level of service that you need for this new product. But this is what they can do, but let's go ahead and look at how do we basically verify our how we can, I don't want to say validate, but evaluate our suppliers. So we're going to use a tool known as a multi-criteria analysis. That's the biggest tool that you'll use for this, because you can rank everybody along the same standards. So multi-criteria analysis is intuitive. It's a great tool for communicating to colleagues. It's simple because they should be able to read it, because you weight scores and everything. They should be able to take a look at it and be able to, if they were to evaluate the same thing, their numbers should be almost identical to yours. You can quantify the data. It's not just because you can say, well, I don't like them. Well, why don't you like them? Well, because I don't like them because they scored a 20 out of 100 on my multi-criteria analysis. Well, you have data that is no longer just a gut feeling. You have hard data that you can show. And you can apply it to any situation. You can do a multi-criteria analysis on lots of things. For example, you can do a multi-criteria analysis on where to go for lunch if you wanted to. Or which potential significant other do you want to date next? You can do that. It's up to you. So you can compare your alternatives. And it's disciplined. You're comparing everybody against the same standard, or everything against the same standard. And you can show this to your colleagues, to your boss. And they can see that you followed the same standard for everybody. And that makes it a whole lot easier, because it's hopefully unbiased. You're not favoring anybody based on the scoring because the scoring is defined. You can say if it's within this range, they score a 2. If it's within this range, they score a 3. And it's just that simple. So this is just one tool that we can use. But we have some other tools out also. So let's dive into some more tools on our next video.